Hello everyone, this is H of the Husky here. I'm going to be casting game number 2 between DarkForce spawning down here in the bottom left side, his opponent Duckload Raw in the top right side. It is going to be a Protoss versus Zerg, and last game we saw phenomenal play from WhiteRa and a really aggressive style from DarkForce attempting to defeat WhiteRa in the early stages, especially since WhiteRa went for that early expand. But even though he was able to kill the Nexus, not able to do enough damage to the economy of WhiteRa, he just sent all of his probes away to their kind of new summer resort at the second expansion and or second base. And then once the Nexus was back up, they rebuilt their home. Kind of like, what does that show where they rebuild your homes to make them better and more pretty? Well, then they all went back there and happily began mining. So that is a terrible analogy as to what happened in that game. Essentially, WhiteRa just macroed really well and was able to pull it off quite easily. So we will see how he decides to play this game out. I mean, usually you always feel good after defeating a Zerg player, or really defeating any opponent, I would say. But when you defeat them in such a fashion where you completely defend their build order, I mean, he just swatted away like a gnat. He made a man out of DarkForce in that game, and then just pushed out and crushed his opponent, essentially. You are feeling even better. You feel like a vastly superior player, but you can't let the arrogance go to your head, and you have to secure all the games in the series before you can be like, well, that was pretty easy. I'm going to go ahead and celebrate with some Hot Pockets. So he is going to be scouting out here. This is after Gateway, which, I mean, look at this building placement of WhiteRa. This is just standard building placement that you would see on ladder, kind of even gold through diamond. And it's not something that I'm making fun of his building placement. It's that if he would have got 6 pool rushed, he would have been in a lot of trouble. Now, he's hoping that DarkForce doesn't go that, because his building placement is not defensive at all. So the Zerglings would run in the probe line, then run over here and attack the gateway. Almost impossible to defend. And he's also not walling in at all. This will allow his units to go in and out quite easily should it come down to it. But his scouting time is definitely delayed. Usually in a Protoss versus Zerg on this map, you're going to be scouting after that pylon, just to make sure that does not happen. As if you do scout a 6 pool, you can prepare for it easily. If one thing, the way that I've seen MC deal with it, which I really like, I don't know why I'm talking about this because it has nothing to do with this game, but I'm going to anyways, is if your opponent's 6 pooling you on a map like this, you have so you're already walling in, so you have your gateway on the way. So say right here's your gateway with a little gap for your zealot, and then your pylon back here. What MC does is he puts a second gateway down and a pylon right here, and then by the time he makes 2 zealots, he can kill his own pylon. The Zerglings have not killed the entrance yet, and then just push out with 2 to 3 zealots, and you hold it off quite easily. So if you are losing a 6 pool, that is one way to attempt to hold it off if you are a Protoss. As 6 pool is proving to be the most effective against Protoss. If you look at the stats on Masters ladders and stuff like that, the 6 pool is still decent against Protoss, even if you are a top tier Protoss. So regardless, though, we are going to get back to this game. You can see the second, that should be the second queen, right? Yep, second queen on the way for DarkForce. He does have his expansion now. And one thing I've noticed about DarkForce's game so far is he doesn't do the new kind of Spanishiwa crazy style of play. As look at this, he does have 4 Zerglings on the field. Last game we saw him go for I mean, just a lot of roaches and Zerglings and things like that, rather than droning up very heavily. So he is more of an aggressive style Zerg, while a lot of Zergs these days are more of a defensive Zerg. You can see WhiteRa is going to be walling in here with these 3 gateways. This is kind of cute. Instead of walling in with the very valuable Cybernetics core, just throwing down more or less valuable gateways, which you can just replace without losing your Stalker tech or anything like that. So we do have a Stalker, Zealot, and Sentry, which, I mean, it looks like WhiteRa is going to a 3-gate expand. We'll see if he does, or if he decides to cancel the Nexus and all of that and push out with a 4-gate, as we have seen MC, for example, do before. And it looks like lagging was going on. So you can see his hotkeys there. What does he have hotkeyed at number 5? I guess nothing, just spamming a little bit there for some funsies. They're certainly going to be checking this out. So this is completely standard play. But again, DarkForce just is macroing less than a lot of Zerg players you might expect. I mean, you can see him getting a Roach Warren right here. We saw him getting Zergling speed. A lot of Zerglings now have been created here. I really don't know what he expects to do with this handful of Zerglings, just because a properly placed force fields will easily hold this off. And he may poke in here, see exactly what's going on. I am curious to see if these Zerglings play a huge role in this game, just because they're already playing a huge role in that is a lot less drones that DarkForce is going to have, and he is going for drones right now, as well as the layer tech. So again, not going a super heavy macro style of play, instead going for those upgrades. and the tech as well. So, I don't know. If WhiteRa holds off again, he's going to be in such good shape, but he is going to have a lot of early pressure applied to him. He is going to be cannon expanding here, or at least getting cannon for defense. We'll probably put a gateway right in front of this cannon to make it more difficult to destroy by roaches. And look at this, the cannon's not even completely up against there, so roaches will have to run around to engage this cannon or get uncomfortably close in range of the sentries and stalkers. So right now I think WhiteRa is playing this out really well. But how will he be able to defend against DarkForce's early pressure? Although now DarkForce is going for drones and an expansion here. So the timing of this expansion is much earlier than we saw before. The only thing is that he hasn't been making as many drones as possible. However, since he does have these Zerglings on the field, he can use them to scout the watchtowers as well as slow down the push as much as possible should WhiteRa decide to move out at the standard time. We do have a Stargate on the way right now, so it does appear as if WhiteRa is comfortable sitting back and just teching up to those error units. And there is, I mean, that expansion is on the way, but there will be Void Rays on the ground, so DarkForce will be forced to get out a Hydralisk Den or something like that. He does have an Evo Chamber, so may be able to get out Spore Crawlers as well. And I don't know if WhiteRa is going to be aggressive with this Void Ray. I mean, the rally point tells me that he's going to be, as he will send it down here. And he just wants to harass this as much as he possibly can. The Void Ray will get here before Hydralisk are really popping out and doing a lot of damage. And then the DarkForce is forced to rely on Queens, which if you're not careful, you can lose a Queen to a Void Ray here. Now the Overseer going to be complete here. He's going to scout here. This is completely standard timing for this Overseer to see exactly what's going on. Needs to make sure not to lose the Overseer, though. Doesn't look like this Overseer will escape. The Overseer did see everything he wanted to. What is going on with the zap on the Void Ray? I mean, not a very nice start to this Void Ray's life. Brand new Void Ray already having malfunctional problems. But maybe the Hydralisk to have, since this Void Ray is delayed a little bit, will be in time to defend against this. Now, usually you do not want to lose these early Void Rays and Phoenix. I mean, obviously you don't want to lose any units as a Protoss player, but at this stage of the game, the idea of this is just to force hopefully static defenses, try to force a wave of ground units rather than drones. But the Phoenix is going to scout through here. We'll see the Hydralisk Den. A couple of Hydras are popping out. Doesn't look like the Phoenix will die unless WhiteRa completely ignores it. And the Phoenix is taking some damage. I do have him selected right here. And then he is going to zoom out of there. So he really knows exactly who he's going up against. He flew right over that Hydralisk Den, and so he immediately is going to start dropping Colossus, which I think he was going for this tech anyways, but he definitely needs something to defend against Hydras. And again, DarkForce is going for early aggression here. May be able to do a lot of damage with these Hydras, especially if he starts engaging at an angle like over here, where the cannon's completely out of range. There's no Colossus ready, only a couple of Gateway units as well as a couple of Void Rays, all units which are not phenomenal against Hydras, but DarkForce is going to be doing a wave of drones right now. So he will not be putting on that pressure, and he just has to deal with these Phoenix, which do the Phoenix have any kills? No kills on these Phoenix. Just going to be killing one drone, it looks like here. No, that drone survives. He just went skydiving and was able to survive. However, needs to get that drone back to work. There he goes. Back to the mineral line for you, drone. And so WhiteRa not able to really do any damage here. DarkForce able to hang on. Thankfully for him, he expanded earlier, and now WhiteRa is stuck on the 2 base, which isn't as comfortable for a Protoss these days as it used to be, just because Zerg realized, well, if I take the entire map, by the time the Protoss is maxed out, I'm maxed out 2 times over, and I have additional larvage to remake that second army. So that is something that WhiteRa will have to keep in mind. Picking up that poor little Zergling, the little Zergling that could. He went skydiving himself. He's like, well, if the drone can do it, so can I. Does get killed right away. And WhiteRa only, his army is not very scary right now, considering that the supply count's 100 to 125. Only 1 Colossus in this army. Thermal Lance is on the way, but now that WhiteRa is taking a 3rd base as well, his army is fairly weak here. So if the Zerg player decides to put on a little bit of pressure, I think it will favor the Zerg player rather than the Protoss player. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. We do have Tunneling Claws on the way, as well as more upgrades for Overlords. Could see a potential drop again inside the Zerg base. Need to be careful with these Phoenix, just because you can harass and scout with these so easily if you keep them alive longer. And he's already at such a huge supply discrepancy that he wants to be careful here. We do have, this is surprising to me, we do have weapons air level +1. I honestly have no idea why WhiteRa is deciding to do this. Just because he's going to be going against so much Hydras, the better option usually is to get out Colossus with some Gateway units to defend it. I mean, he is going for Void Ray, Colossus, and the ground army, which is standard. It just seems like these Void Rays may be a tiny bit too early. But right now, I mean, DarkForce is giving the Protoss time to do this safely, so WhiteRa is going for the exact army composition he wants. But the problem is the Corruptors. DarkForce realizes Corruptors do indeed exist in this game for Zerg, so we will have more Corruptors on the field than we saw last game. Then again, one Corruptor is more than we saw last game. But that will allow the Void Rays to not do as much damage to the Roaches as they would like, which means all the ground army of the Zerg player can just devastate the Protoss gateway unit. So going to come down to, can WhiteRa keep these Colossus alive, or are the Corruptors going to be too much? DarkForce staying on top of his expansions is going to be taking his very valuable 4th high-yield expansion and is going to be maxed out here soon, any minute, at 172 supply. Now, WhiteRa's, this kind of shows you that getting the Void Rays too early, it does supply maxing out. Some players can max out as a Protoss around 15 to 16 minutes, but right now he's only at 134. He is moving out here. This is a very weird timing to move out, especially since the Corruptors are done spreading the Corruptors out quite nicely. The Roaches will be able to focus down a lot of the units. However, he did not go for the Colossus, and so that is going to allow the Void Rays to get fully charged here. So DarkForce is he going to clean this up here? Yes, he will. And WhiteRa is going to be in a lot of trouble here. That was such a weird timing and weird location on the map to move out. Usually you'll see a Protoss player be extremely defensive in this timing, just because that is where the Zerg economy is really kicking in. I think we may have seen some probe massacres going on, at least having to force the probes all the way gone, or all the way to the expansion. So workers killed. Yeah, he has killed 15, 16 now. They are inside the main probe line. So the economy of WhiteRa is just being completely destroyed. Again, these Void Rays, and a peculiar choice. Usually you won't see a Protoss player get them in this number this early. I think he just got a little too comfortable in this game, and DarkForce really punished him for it. And so this wasn't the best game I've seen from WhiteRa, but I got to hand it to DarkForce. Waiting cautiously and engaging that right at the right time was really what paid off for him. 49 workers killed. Eesh, that is a terrible number of workers to lose. So there's no way WhiteRa was going to come back from that one. And that really just came down to one battle, but it also came down to DarkForce being patient, waiting for WhiteRa to move out at the ideal time for him to engage it. And he just shows you the power of the Zerg Swarm. Now, he did only have one attack, and did WhiteRa have any? Yes, he had one attack as well. The second armor was nearly completed, as well as another Colossus, which, again, to me, that's why it's such a weird timing, because as a Protoss player, you have to pay attention to your upgrades, because I think as far as upgrades go, they help the Protoss more than any other race once you have a nice big ball, just because it keeps your Colossus alive longer, as well as makes them do a lot more damage, because they do so much damage that doing the upgrade attack makes it scale much quicker than other units, plus it does splash damage, plus it does 2 attacks. So the upgrades are so crucial for Protoss. And I mean, like, we had air weapons level 2 on the way for these Corruptors. A beautiful play there by DarkForce. A lot of Zerg players forget to get those air upgrades, making them do 22 damage versus massive units. The side of my computer just fell off and stabbed me in the foot, so that feels fantastic. The hazards of being a caster that some people do not think about. Cutting off your own foot with the side of your computer is one of them, and tangling yourself and, in your headset is another. In those late nights where you stay up casting games, you fall asleep with your headset on, and you wake up suffocating from the headset getting its revenge. But anyways, we are going to go on to game number 3. I'm super excited because DarkForce showing us he can take a game off WhiteRa quite convincingly. So let's go ahead and hop into that one. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you guys next time.